Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss Sam Harris's idea of the moral landscape a little bit. I wanted to find a video that I could use as a backboard against which to discuss that idea, but I couldn't find one that had him succinctly making all the points I wanted to respond to. So I found this video, short clip, in which he will explain his basic ideas very briefly, and then I'm going to discuss the idea of the moral landscape a little bit, what Sam Harris gets right, what he gets wrong. So let's begin with this clip.
There's this idea in science that science can help us get what we value, but it can never tell us what we ought to value. And that's something that I'm challenging in this book. Well, when I think about questions of right and wrong and good and evil in universal terms, I think in terms of a moral landscape where the peaks correspond to the heights of human happiness and the valleys correspond to the lowest depths of misery. When you ask the question, how can we move upwards on this landscape, both personally and collectively? Clearly there are right and wrong answers to that question, and these are answers because human well-being emerges out of our biology and out of our sociology and out of the way the universe is altogether. These are answers which in principle science can discover. What I'm hoping readers find in the moral landscape is a context in which to think about really the deepest questions in human life in universal terms.
Wow, that's certainly false quote. Reason has never had a more passionate advocate. Whoever said that should watch some of my videos. And definitely doesn't know about Ayn Rand. Or does and is just a dishonest idiot, which is much more likely. Okay, so why am I even discussing this in the first place? Well, because Sam Harris actually, pittance as it is, his idea actually is farther ahead toward the road to truth than almost anybody else around today. Now, he makes a lot of invalid inferences on the basis of his idea, and it is not developed anywhere close to Ayn Rand's ideas, but there's a kernel here of insight. Not original insight, but there's insight relative to how most people think about morality. So what Sam Harris gets right, I can't look at this quote forever. That's somewhat better. So what Sam Harris gets right is that morality is about the well-being of conscious creatures, as he puts it. As Ayn Rand would put it, the purpose of morality is happiness. It's all about your consciousness. It's about how you feel. If you can't feel good, there's no point in living. You cannot deduce, well, I'm alive, I should be alive, life is the basis of values, and so I should be alive. Life is... No. If you can't feel happy, there's no reason to be alive. So, yes, happiness is the whole reason to try to continue to remain in existence, to pursue happiness. So, the purpose of morality as the achievement of positive conscious states, that is true. That is what Sam Harris gets right. And his view that, look, this is a factual question. Once we understand that, then it's just a matter of cause and effect. It's a factual question like anything else. If happiness is the purpose of life, then you have to take certain actions to get there. There's certain things that will cause happiness, just like anything else. Particular things result from particular causes, and science is just the process by which you establish cause and effect relationships. That's completely right. So then what's the problem here? Well, the problem is that, first of all, he doesn't understand the relationship between life and happiness. He doesn't understand that what causes happiness is the pursuit of survival, your survival as an individual organism. He doesn't make that connection. So you could say it's an undeveloped idea. He gets that, okay, happiness is the purpose. What causes happiness? He doesn't really know. He has some ideas, and some of his ideas are rational. He's pretty good on dishonesty, for instance, but he doesn't understand the essential cause of happiness, which is achieving values that are true values, that are values that sustain your life. He doesn't understand that. So that's number one. Two bigger actual problems, rather than just lack of development, two actual wrong views that make him very bad on this, are, one, he is a utilitarian. He understands positive states of consciousness as the purpose of morality, but he doesn't understand individualism. For him, this can be, oh, we're just going to figure out what's best for most organisms, for animals and even insects, and he values human beings over animals and animals over insects, but he does so on a false basis of, well, we can experience greater types of pain and suffering and happiness and pleasure, a greater range of these experiences. And so we matter more intrinsically. He's an intrinsicist, and his view is, well, if we develop AI that is capable of even greater, higher experiences, well, then we should wipe ourselves out. That is not true. No. Because just what goes along with recognizing that pleasure is good and that that's the basis for morality, happiness is good, positive states of consciousness are good, is that those positive states of consciousness are positive states of particular consciousnesses. In other words, he fails to understand the objectivity of values. He's really an intrinsicist. He thinks he's a collectivist intrinsicist. I mean, that's all a utilitarian is. It's what's good intrinsically is the experience, the positive experience of conscious beings. Not my consciousness, just it's intrinsically valuable for there to be conscious experiences that are positive and consciousnesses experiencing happiness. But it doesn't matter if it's my happiness or not. No. You are the individual organism, consciousness, experiencing the feelings. So your values matter to you. There is no such thing as intrinsic values. So he doesn't understand that. So he's a utilitarian and an altruist and an intrinsicist. He's all of these bad things. He doesn't understand the individualism implicit in egoism. Second, and this is the other major flaw, is that it sounds good. It sounds oh yeah, happiness, that's the basis of morality. But he doesn't actually defend that on rational grounds. He doesn't say, look, this is just self-evident. That's it. You know, existence exists. Pleasure feels good. There's no getting underneath that. That's it. That's a fact. Now that's the actual answer to that question. But Sam Harris doesn't think like that. Sam Harris treats this as an as an arbitrary postulate. Look, we have to start somewhere, right? This is how he defends it. I've seen him defend it this way. Look, we do physics on the idea that there's cause and effect, but we don't really know there's cause and effect, right? That's just something we assume. And, you know, I mean, he's basically a Kantian. He believes that, he agrees with Jordan Peterson, we're evolved to perceive and think about the world in a certain way, and so real reality is in this noumenal dimension, and we can't ever know, and the idea of cause and effect is just how we think about things. But still, look, we do science. His idea is basically, look, you accept science, right? You're being a hypocrite. You accept science on the idea that cause and effect is inviolable. So, look, morality is no worse than science. If you say that happiness is the basis. Yeah, you know, maybe that's not true, ultimately, in the noumenal, really true sense. But look, if you accept science, you should accept morality on the same kind of arbitrary basis we accept science. That's really what he's saying. So, it can sound good, superficially, but then when you look into it, you say, oh, no. He's not saying morality is as firm as science. Or rather, he is. He's saying, yeah, morality is as firm as science, and science isn't that firm, so we should be content with the same kind of arbitrary postulate in morality. That's really what he's saying. So, he doesn't understand the self-evident. He doesn't understand the egoism, or the individualism implicit in egoism. And he doesn't understand the actual cause of happiness, the essential cause, the pursuit of survival values, and of course he doesn't understand all of the implications of that, all of the detailed morality and virtues Ayn Rand worked out. So what he understands is a little kernel of truth that is very undeveloped and also mixed in with some very, very big, major philosophical mistakes. So that's what's wrong with the moral landscape. You know, it's good. Happiness is the purpose of morality, and once you understand that, happiness is the state of consciousness. Consciousness has identity just like anything else. Particular states of consciousness have identity just like anything else, and so getting to those things requires a chain of cause and effect just like anything else. Just like building a table requires you to take certain actions, so being happy requires you to take certain actions. That he gets. What he doesn't get is the nature of the self-evident and the nature of the objectivity of values and individualism. And that's his problem. So I hope this was a relatively succinct explanation of what's wrong with Sam Harris's view. I mean, he's better than almost everybody else living today on this topic, you know, excluding objectivists, obviously. This is probably the truest idea out there, which is sad. But so, you know, I give him credit for that. This is how empiricists and this kind of disintegrated mentality works. They usually have the basis right, but they just can't go any far with it, or very far with it, because looking at reality is the basis for coming to the truth. But then you have to use logic to integrate what you see, and Sam Harris can't do that very well. And then you have people like Jordan Peterson who just don't care about perception and empiricism. And don't tell me he does and he cares about studies. That's too big to go into right here. But mystics like Jordan Peterson, they start way up the chain, and they may have some respect for logic, but they've already jumped ahead. So anyway, what I'm saying is it's characteristic of people like Sam Harris to have the first few steps right and then not to understand anything further. So anyway, I hope this was clarifying. I will see you in the next video, which I think will be of Matt Dillahunty and some other guy, basically a new atheist criticism of objectivism. So I will see you then. Bye.